sometime if I let some of those younger guys do that, let's say they were gonna run counter, you know, I don't know if they run or not, but, you know, anyway, they were gonna, or block it and come on, whatever. And block here comes this guy, here comes this guy, they may even lead that back through there, you know, or come get it, whatever. Well, if I'm that scout guard, when I see all that on that sheet that I'm holding up, he goes, well, I know I'm pulling, but where do I go? You know, they got all these lines. So, because I wanted it to be so precise and so exact, I started drawing them all. And I would color code. Like, if this guy was pulling, I'd get me an old, like a green magic, you know, green highlighter. I'd color him green, I'd color that line green all the way. If this guy was a tackle pulling around the seal, I might color him yellow all the way, you know, and tried to make where those lines didn't intersect a whole lot, but at least the color, so they could see that thing, and at least we were getting a pretty good look. The worst thing, I know is that offense gets it, and it's just a fiasco. I mean, it looks like, excuse my language, it looked like a clusterfuck. I mean, people are running in these, and you've wasted a play. Your guys didn't get better 1 ounce. So that became really important to me, was to make those cards as readable and so that scout offense could give us the very best look they possibly could. I think that helped us a bunch, where we didn't have to, y'all huddle up, y'all run. Do you not see where, you know, and everybody's over, somebody kicking that guy, and coach, I didn't know which one on the line it was, you know, and it's just time wasted. And my deal was, I didn't want any bad wasted reps, because we just didn't have that much time. So I started drawing everything. We didn't draw every play, but I'd go through there, and I'm sure just like everybody else does, and I wanted to pull out of a certain formation. I wanted to say pull the 3 top run plays or 4 play, whatever, that they were really good. Come to find out, when you start looking at formations, there's usually just 2 or 3 or 4 things they do, and so that's what we were going to play. Well, that's what we were going to do. The other thing about running a lot of defensive fronts is, if we were going to do that, then that meant I was going to have to draw a cheat. And then if I was over there, well, this time let's play strong. That meant I was going to have to draw all those cards in strong. And let's say this time I want to run some exotic blitz, then I'm going to have to run that play. Well, there's not enough time. And those defensive kids, they don't get the reps. I mean, they don't get the number. I mean, it's bam, 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 and it's going. And a lot of times we use 2 huddles anyway on scout stuff. And as soon as that one, especially if we're running a no huddle team, and as soon as that one's over, that other one's already lining up, and those guys are over there hollering, they're checking, and they're getting it. And we wanted that thing, so we wanted to get through as many reps as we could. And because of that, that's why I started saying, okay, we're going into this game. If they give us that front, we're going to play cheat. We're going to play it until they force us to do something else. And that's what those kids saw about 100 times in those 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They saw it over and over and over. And boy, I'll tell you, by Thursday, when we were kind of going through, you know, kind of a game feel of it, well, most of the time they were on station. I mean, they were on go, and they're making the right checks, they're making calls, they're communicating, because they've seen it a bunch already. And that's another reason why we did that, is for practice. You know, now if we were going to stay out there for 6 hours, man, I mean, of course, that's a lot more drawing, but, of course, the huddle deal, it does it for you, right?
Yeah, it gives you a template, and then you gotta kind of drag.
You gotta kinda do it, but still, that.
But they're in there, so this formation versus this, you could just,
Right,
and then a lot of times, I mean, he'll put it up, but
Yeah.
I do the cards,
yeah.
just block
Well, you
6,
know what I'm
block
talking
16,
about, if
yeah.
you're running.
Yeah,
that
no,
offense,
because they're all confused.
They're looking-
They'll ask me what I said, just block 16, just block our play. And
Right,
usually most
exactly,
teams,
yeah.
and so then they'll just.
Uh-huh.
But then the harder part is okay, block 16, but then your
And then
starting guard that's good,
you're,
he pulls and doesn't hit
you're,
hard.
playing Belen, and they're an option. You know, when people used to run the wishbone, I mean, you talk about really screwed as far as scout team, because those guys, they can't run it with the precision and the speed that those wishbone teams. So, you know, and really, that's what got me to doing this was preparing for some wishbone team, because we just didn't have enough time to practice. We were never gonna do something in a game that we hadn't practiced. It just wasn't gonna happen. Sometime one of the coaches come on and said, Coach, you know, if we'll take this guy and if we'll move him on, I said, have we practiced it? Well, no, but I think, well, guess what? We're not doing it. But, because I think we're setting ourselves up for failure.
Right.
You know, when you're asking a kid, now the coach probably had a good idea. But if we'd have done it in practice, then man, I'd be all for it. But we just weren't gonna draw something in the ground and now we'd make some adjustments at half and we'd do that, or we might make it on the sideline. We might do a few little things, but it was things that were in our, you know, what we call our tool, the old Permian term, our toolbox, you know. A defense, you know, something that we've done before that we can take out and plug it in, you know, and, so that's another reason. I know, some people have always asked me, why do you know, try to just do one front against certain things? Well, that was it, was because there just wasn't enough time
Yeah.
to really get good, like I thought against those really good teams. I mean, we're playing Manzano. I mean, by golly, we better be on station, you know, and they still were gonna make yardage, they still were gonna make plays, so we better eliminate as many errors as we can possibly eliminate and, hope for the best, but.
And I think that's what we did against Belen the second time around. We didn't blitz very much against Belen, but we played 5 pretty solid and did decent against the run, but, you know, obviously our pass game is
Yeah.
where freaking shot us in the foot.
The other question a lot of people have, and you remind me, they say, well, if you're playing zone, don't people just run at you? Well, I think the way we trigger those outside backers and those safeties and those people, I think we compensate with those guys really quick. Even if people are spread, those, you know, that bandit and that wheel are spread out and they've made a gator call, but they're still, you know, I tell them all, except for those 2 deep safeties if they're playing cover 2, we're still playing run. So that's the first thing you're looking at. You better get that run key. If you get a run key, forget everything else. If they run key us and play action, if they rise up and hit something, hey, more power to them. But we wanted to go in the game, stop the run. That was it. And then we felt like if we could stop the run, then they're playing into our wheelhouse with our coverage, you know, with what we did. And playing zone and with the technique and stuff that we played with, we felt like we were at an advantage.
And that's what we were at a disadvantage, because we don't have the technique that we needed to play the coverage that we're trying.
Sure, yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, some people play man because they don't want to admit that, but they think, well, this is the easiest thing, you know, the
Right.
simplest thing.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, there's a ton of technique to really playing good man
Yeah.
to man. You better be pretty good athletically, first of all, and then even if you're really good, you better play really, really good technique. And so that's why we're a zone team. Even when we didn't have those guys that could just totally dominate up front, we still, it's kind of a, you know, we still could hold our own and still hang in there and make a play every now and then and you know, but I just felt like that was better than if we said, well, hey, corner, you know, the guys that not very good, I want you to cover that really good guy right over there, and because the chances of that being successful for us wasn't good. It wasn't gonna happen, so. And I know a lot of people say, well, if you play man, well, you can stop the run. Probably can, but how do you do that other, you know? And how do you compensate for those, maybe lack of talent, you know, with those
Right.
defenders?
Right.
So I always thought I could take somebody that with a little bit less talent, and particularly like a corner, and we could teach him good technique, and he doesn't have to be that great athlete. He can play technique, and he can still make plays because he's so sound technique-wise.
That makes sense.
Mike used to say something, when you guys would see sprint out, the Mike would just blitz.
A lot of times, if we saw a sprint out, we call it second contain with our mic. And that's right. I can't believe you said something right, but,
We're gonna have to show them this film.
no, I forgot we're filming here.
Say hi to Mike in
Mike, I
Italy.
love you, buddy.
And Mike will probably get
We're
to
streaming
hour
over
7. He would probably get to hour 7 too.
Friend, let's take a wing tee and bootleg. And let's say we're gonna line up and cheat. By the way, that's what this front was made for. Years ago, back in the 80s, when Spike Dykes, the guy that was the head coach at Tech, when he was at Middle League, playing Odessa Permian, they had to come up with something to stop this stuff because they were just so devastating with their technique. So that's where this thing was born. They didn't call it cheat, they called it 31, you know, because they were going to get in a 3 technique and a 1. But God, it makes it so hard for the blocking teams and the stuff that Wing T does. But here's what we did a lot with, friends, what Mike is talking about. Over here, if we had a wing, well, these guys would call it wing, because he was gonna take the first outside cut, he's gonna take the deep cut, you know, I mean, it's just cover 2, but from a little different angle. Of course, they were gonna, you know, give the trap fake, and then gonna, you know, fake, and then they're gonna come out, and usually they were gonna block and pull, and sometimes pull both guys around. Well, that fullback was gonna come out flat, so our wheel's gonna jump that. And when we saw that, when we knew there was a wing and we had a little key and that guard pulled, and our Mike would immediately look at that back. If he went away, but the guard pulled that way, they're not running over here. So he immediately knew that he was gonna be second contain, because this guy may lose contain, and he was gonna come make a play. And he made a bunch of them just like that. The other thing we did that was, I thought was pretty good, was we were playing cover 4. He's gonna click and bail, whatever usually is gonna be something like that. He's gonna set up, and because we knew with bootleg, we keyed him in this particular situation, we keyed him tackle through the back. If the back went away and he saw anything coming back, he knew it was gonna be the bootleg, the drag of the tight end. So the tight end's gonna come off this thing and start his drag. So we just set him and waited on the tight end. If this guy came across, you know, then we were gonna jump that thing, left him sitting. Usually we're gonna turn him loose and bring it, but anyway, he'd pick up that, he'd have that, and here goes Mike, and there'd be a sack back here because they weren't ready for it. If we got a sprint out pass, which I don't know anybody does that much anymore, but every now and then we ran across somebody that might sprint out. But out of the spread, I don't know if we did much, but let's say it was Belen, I don't know. But, and they come this way and it was sprint out pass, then right now we know that, you know, our secondary is gonna probably be cover 4. And, you know, whatever this route's going, he's clicking Balin, he's gonna work flat. Probably one of these guys were coming flat, he's gonna pick it. So again, we wanted to second contain with our Mike. And that was because we felt like the backside of the field was not really a threat to us. Besides, we're still pretty good. If he did that, you know, then he'd click and bail, and he's gonna rob that route. So we call it second contain.
Now, let's say if it was trips and he had to wall 3,
Now, that's a
that
different.
he wouldn't do it then.
No.
Or your robber could take 3 and he could go.
We could, and sometime we'd sit and wait on it, you know, we'd rob and we'd turn him loose. Sometime we even brought him, you know, we'd bring him on a lift, and knowing that we're robbing, you know, that way, but, you know, again, those are the little things that week to week, you know, you can come up with and you can change up, but he, you know, that's right, he would be the, anytime we got a sprint out, especially out of a 2-back set, we were gonna use a second contain with him and turn him loose.
You guys have any other questions?
I don't know if I've answered any question, anything, but I've tried to give you everything. I tried to make some notes, just trying to remember everything, and we talked about tough and queen. We talked about unbalanced, balanced formation, how we had, if they balance, we need to balance.
What'd you call that again when they went, when you went straight to the 50?
Nose.
No.
Now, if we wanted to play, nose was when we were playing those four-eye techniques. If we wanted to go both 5s, we call it Okie. We made an Okie call, and it's kind of, we wanted that. The only problem with that, very seldom ever did that. We might go strong one side, and 4 technique the other side. Maybe to the short field side or whatever. But most of the time, we want to take away the inside zones and make that thing bounce out to our people, you know, our players. So,
Well, Coach, will white splits make any difference with your alignment of?
no, we really didn't. And we told them if they got so wide, you know, here's the center, and all of a sudden, 5 yards out is the guard. Like, we tell them, Mike, hey, get up in there and go. Just run it, you know, take it. Or if we were running cheat and that 4-eye technique, and they were so wide, we tell them, hey, scoot in and just run through, you know. I don't ever remember anybody doing that. Now, we taught them to read splits. If somebody came up, if somebody come up like this, and you know, we were in cheat, and well, there was just a big old split there. We said, what do you think they want to do? They want to widen you out, you know. So it was just an alert to this guy, hey, get ready, if you know, your key block's out, scoot up, meet that guy back here somewhere, you know. But we didn't really change his key, but we told him to try to recognize splits. We tried to teach the linemen to recognize, you know, on and off the ball. You know, in fact, we tell them, you know, on, off, you know, we're alerting. We think there's gonna be a pull, because he's getting in position to pull. Or, we worked a deal where we'd say, is that lineman heavy or light on his hand? And, you know, and that was just little drills that Potter and them would do, and come up, and maybe this guy, we just barely touching his hand, and we were in cheat. Well, this he's gonna start hollering, light, 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 light. So he's alerting, you better get ready for a trap, you know, and he'd even pass it down, you know, here, light, light, light. I mean, that thing may come all the way out. So they worked hard on trying to recognize wide splits, or, you know, if they're in that, you know, stance, and boy, those knuckles are white. I mean, all the blood's, you know, heavy, they're coming off the ball. If we got a heavy and a light, we're looking for a trap. If we got, you know, light, we're looking for both guards pull it, you know. So, that was, something we tried to, you know, teach those guys. It's not something we spent a great deal of time,
Right.
but once we felt like they mastered all this stuff, because they're playing the same technique over and over and over. Then he tried to talk to them about, let's see if we can figure out what it is before the ball snap, you know, and give us a little head start with this play. And so, I'll tell you where Potter did a great job was those two inside people. He got them reading screen so well that people just couldn't screen us. And it come back to that technique we were teaching them. Grab them and just try to push them back. Well, you said it a while ago, push back and that guy leaves, just run with him, you know, boy, I think that weak side tackle, he had an interception, I believe, on the screen. I know the weak side end, he intercepted a pass against Valley and ran it about 80 yards back, you know, or no, 70 yards, whatever. He had 3 touchdowns that year, that weak side end. One was that onside kick. One was a fumble. We hit the quarterback in the end zone. Quarterback fumble. He fell on it for a touchdown. Then the other was he picked off that screen pass, and I think that was against Valley, I believe. But I mean, that's it. I don't know. Anything, what else, you know, I thought we were gonna meet y'all again in the playoffs in 11. So I knew we were gonna get a steady dose of, you know, this again. And so we started working this a little along as we went, and we made it what we call even, where that nose was gonna be nearly a head-up position, but he still was an A-gap player. He was his normal alignment. He was gonna get in an outside alignment. He was gonna be in his outside alignment that he always was, and it was just gonna be an old, just an old deal. And we were gonna try to, because you'd heard us weak side with, the counters so much. We thought we could play this thing, and we figured they'd, you know, come in and try to block that thing. Of course, he's gonna shuffle, get outside, take on the counter, take that, you know, take it on, you know, come up and, we just, you know, we didn't have to do it. I don't know if it worked or not, but it was just gonna be a little change up, and then we knew if you started gashing us, that we could always go back to nose, you know, and be pretty sound with that thing.
You know, we had this argument during the season, not this argument, but Loris was like, well, why don't we wrong arm? And
Why don't what?
Why don't we wrong arm? Cause that's what we used to do for years, is wrong arm, wrong arm, wrong arm. And then we've now boxed with our outside backers. We just squeeze down and we just tell them to get as low as possible and just don't get moved.
Right.
And I've just always felt it's better. You have that guy that's a really good athlete, and if he gets out on the edge against our guy that's a really good athlete, but their guy's gonna win sometimes.
Yeah.
But if we make them go in, then at least we have
At
more
least you got a
bodies
chance.
that can get to that spot.
Right. And some of that comes back to, if you're playing much man behind you, you can't wrong, you can't
Yeah.
spill. Because there's nobody out there to spill it to. So you've always gotta have somebody to spill it to.
Well, we'd have our safeties there to
Uh-huh.
spill it to.
Right.
But we even went back to watch some of the film with Rossi, and one of the problems was your backside safety wasn't playing cutback. Your backside safety was coming
It's
up
coming up and not.
because he had to
not
worry
cut
about the
back.
quarterback coming
Yeah,
out the other
that's
side.
right. Yeah.
But I'm gonna stop this right here.